people be able to do that. You don't change people too dramatically, especially at first class level. If you're playing first class cricket, they're decent players. You just sort of sand around the edges and try to make them as consistent and as competitive as they can be.
So that's David Saker, the former England bowling coach, on many things: his time with England, helping Broad and Anderson, his own future pathways through coaching. It's fascinating to get his thoughts after his success with Victoria, going over there and hearing just how much of an influence his time with England had on him in the way he went about his role with the Bush Rangers and taking them to the Sheffield Shield title. It is still raining here at Lord's, so no prospects of play in the immediate future. Certainly the forecast was that there could be a bit of there could be some respite in the period leading up to lunch, and then it might brighten up a little bit in the afternoon, but it's still very much raining at the moment. The spectators are huddled beneath the stands and under shelter, under rain mats and under bright coloured golf umbrellas as well around the ground. The situation then, whenever play does resume, England will pick up on their innings 109 for 4, second innings hold of 237 with Hales and Finn, the two not-out batsmen overnight. We'll have a little bit of a discussion on the wicket keepers here up in the commentary box, because Johnny Bairstow's provoked a little bit of discussion. Amazing form with the bat, but having missed a dismissal in each of the 3 tests of the series so far. Alex Stewart is up here, Phil Tufnell as well. Got these dark glasses on, Phil. Does that mean your barbecue went well last night?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
And
I'm not going to do a bank job with you, Ali.
Flowers, morning to you. You're looking resplendent in cherry red or cerise this morning.
Well, I don't know, I call it black red apple, but I mean, you know, you call it cerise. I never quite know what cerise is.
Who knows?
Anyway.
I'll hand over to you for
my dear, thing before you do that, I think if our old friend Brian Johnston was here today, he would call the weather now setters, wouldn't he? And he's looking pretty steady in Lashumi. But we keep our fingers crossed that Alison's optimism and the weather forecaster's optimism is going to produce the goods after perhaps early lunch, who knows. When we were out in the middle yesterday, Alec and I, and it actually we were with another spin bowler, but one who turned it a different way to toughers. We were with an off spinner, big arm spinner, with a no-less arm spinner, who turned it away from the batsman. We were talking about keeping Johnny Bairstow. Now, a lot of people are going to think it's a bit unfair, perhaps, to criticise someone who batted so brilliantly. He scored 300 for England this year, and his 167 on idea was a splendid innings, and once again bolstered England, took them to safety. But he is fulfilling 2 roles, one of which is the batsman, which he does quite brilliantly, and I think no one would say that if he didn't keep wicket at all, he'd be in the England side as a batsman. But he does also keep wicket, and has got into the habit of dropping quite a number of catches. And this is something that I have to say no one is more upset about this than Johnny Bairstow himself. So, but it's something nonetheless that we must look at, and I think the selectors eventually must look at.
Well, it's not a good habit to get into if you're a wicketkeeper still. It's not important to all the listeners out there, but let's not go too hard at John Bairstow.
No, we must.
And I think that's important. We have this chap, he's not useless. He's just broken a record for the most number of dismissals in a 3-test match series. As you quite rightly said, his batting is looking after himself, and he's been very, very good indeed. Every time he drops a catch or misses a stumping, if he's highlighted, that's fine, because that's what happens if you're a wicket-keeper or goalkeeper. If you drop a catch at slip, or 2 catches at slip, you don't talk about this. So let's get things in perspective.
Well, and you don't talk about it unless it becomes sequential and you start dropping quite a lot of catches. And this is the point that Johnny has reached in terms of keeping, that it is one more, it's not one on its own.
Correct. So let's look at, and we spoke about this briefly yesterday morning, Wells. He has improved since the South Africa winter tour. So his alignment, where he stands, is much, much better. His movements
Can you explain that?
So the alignment, I would talk, so back in the South Africa Test series in the winter, when he kept taking a step, for a right-hander standing back, he kept taking a step to his left to then try and push back and dive to his right. He didn't raise any energy because he just stood a little bit too wide. So every ball, especially Jimmy Anderson, for example, the shape of his ball will come down the line, perhaps middle. If you stand a little bit too wide, because the line looks as though being pushed down the leg side, you automatically take a step to your left to stay in line with the ball. Then it starts to swing out, and you start to then have to get back to your right again. If you haven't got enough balance, you can't push off your left foot to create the energy to dive, you won't get there. So as a line, he stood a lot tighter now to off stump. So most balls now look as though they're coming to him. He's in a balanced position. So if there's an edge, he dives and catches it. I'm going very technical.
Yes. Well, I don't think it is very technical, those two, because in essence, then he was standing in the wrong position.
But that's exactly right. Simplifying it, exactly right. So he's worked with Bruce French, who we all know has helped improve all the keepers from that prior onwards. So because we're seeing progress, that's why I want to be pretty gentle. Yes, he's dropped some catches. The catch he dropped here in the first innings, the ball dipped on him, it wobbled. Should he have caught it? Of course he should have caught it. But let's look at reasons why. It was because the ball wobbled, etc.
And a bit because it was Lord's and he hasn't had much experience.
So we've got to take all those things into consideration. But then when you have to balance up, and this is what I mentioned yesterday morning, going back to the great Alan Knott, he worked on 90% success rate of catching the ball 90% of the time. If you're catching it 9 out of 10 times, you are a top class keeper. Now whether that's an edge or whether that's a ball coming through in a day's play. So for argument's sake, if you're catching more of the 540 balls bowled in a day, whatever 90% is of that, then it's a number of balls you take. You balance that up and then look at what you should take, what you could have taken, and what really, if you dive full length, you couldn't have gone any further than the ball just touched your fingertip. Up here, we'll say that was a charm, but he couldn't have caught it. He's dived as far as he could, his arm is fully extended, it's just at the end of his fingers, so he couldn't go any more. You don't catch a ball on the end of your fingers, it has to go into the palm of your hand. So it's being really fair, but also honest, but also being critical if it is due.
I suppose also along that kind of lines that if you're playing for sort of landing 90s, so if you keep getting chances, you're going to miss a few. And with Gordon Anderson, luckily the chances keep coming along. But as you say, if you're working on 9 out of 10, you are going to drop your one.
And that's the thing, and people are allowed to improve. Because I've seen improvement since the South African series, who's not to say by the end of the summer he's improved again, and on and on. So look at Adam Gilchrist. Modern day, he's been the best wicket-keeper batsman in the world. When he first came in for Ian Healy, his keeping wasn't at the highest standard. Even at the end of his career, he wasn't as good as Ian Healy. But because the two, his batting and keeping, set such a high standard, if he missed something, we didn't talk about
Tim
it.
Zura was the next sort of...
Yeah,
people were booing almost, I think.
100%.
Yeah, because they sort of... Tim Zura's the keeper who can bat, but they then went with...
They went with Gilly, they saw something. So Bairstow knows, and yes, I can understand why he gets a little bit uptight, hot under the collar when he's continually asked in media press conferences about his keeping, about he's doing his best, but because it's improved. If he wasn't improving, then that's a different conversation, but I see some improvement.
But now, the paradox is, in a way, that he is improving, but he is still dropping. If you see, I mean, in every test match, we're getting one drops or something, aren't we? What you say he's coming, he's now standing in the right place. What has he got to work on now?
The consistency. That is the thing. And again, I threw it out there yesterday. He's an all-rounder. Moeen Ali, England's #1 spinner. Yes?
Yes.
How good is he?
Well, he's not a great spinner, but
He is. Go on, but he's what?
But he does a job. But
Do you not say Bairstow does a job? He's doing a job.
Yes.
Good enough. If you're going to see progress, so in another few months' time, he's more than just doing a job. And that's where I want to go. People expect to see the finished article straight away. And you won't get that. Tuffers and bring the spinner in here. Yeah. Of course it's frustrating whenever a keeper or a fielder misses a chance.
Yes.
But the problem arises is if the bowlers have lost all confidence in the wicket keeper.
Yes.
That is then an issue. I hadn't been in that dressing room, I hadn't spoken to Broad or Anderson or whoever.
Which did happen a little bit with Matt Pryor, didn't they?
Yes.
Was that in the news?
That was in West Indies off Ryan Sidebottom.
That's right.
Again, stood in the wrong place. By the end, I mean, how good was Matt Pryor?
Yeah.
So that, again, is a good analogy. Matt Pryor wasn't a finished article. People questioned him. I remember Mike Gatting, I was sticking up for Pryor in the 5 Live blocks next door to here, saying Pryor will be a fine keeper, because you can see how he catches the ball. Gatting and others were saying, no, he's hopeless, get rid of him. Even Bob Willis on TV was saying, Dyer Pryor. By the end, he's as good as England have ever had.
I think the definition of the position has changed. You know, you're not necessarily a wicketkeeper now. As you say, you are the all-rounder.
You've got to be two-dimensional.
You are two-dimensional, which means that you can't be the glove man who all he does all day is wear his gloves in the shower and everything, and I mean, like Jack Russell and all these kind of guys. I think those kind of guys.
The game's moved on.
The game's moved on.
But you've still got to be good enough.
Yeah.
You know, so what it is, you're still saying the keeper has to take 85-90% of the chances.
Yeah.
That's just a given. But now there's such an emphasis of not just averaging 20-25 with the bat. You've got to be averaging 35-40-45 with the bat. That's the modern game.
Yes, I mean, wicketkeepers today are chosen, in fact, on their batting ability rather than their wicketkeeping ability.
Yeah.
And I mean, then it makes
It
one
wasn't
think.
like that, Lois, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was a bonus. If you had you're the best wicketkeeper in the country, could bat a bit as well.
Yeah.
And was that though, Rose, going back, perhaps there were more batting, bowling all-rounders, or bowling, batting all-rounders, which allowed you just to, I won't say the keeper just to have the best glove, even if you only average 15 or 20, may go back to Bob Taylor, Alan Knott. Alan Knott, I understand, was the best. Bob Taylor was, in other people's eyes, possibly as good if not better, but Knotty always contributed, coming in at 7. Bob was probably more a number 9, perhaps.
You see, this is the first real wicketkeeper batsman who owed his place to his batting. In my view, looking right back, in 1928-29, when England under Percy Chapman went to Australia, George Duckworth was chosen as the first wicketkeeper, and Les Ames as the second keeper, and George Duckworth kept in all 5 Test matches. Then in 32-3, when Jardine took the side for the famous bodyline tour, the same two keepers, Duckworth and Ames, went, but Ames kept, because Jardine wanted his batting, Ames kept in all 5, and in fact Ames went on to score 100 first-class hundreds, and the only keeper to do that. So I mean, it's not a new thing.
No.
It did happen then, but the emphasis is very much more. Now, I suppose you could say that the last top wicketkeeper to be chosen was probably Bruce French.
Yeah, well, Jack Russell.
Jack Russell and Bruce French, yes.
Yeah.
But Jack Johnson.
Of course.
Yeah, you know, so even if you are designated,
And that is such a great point, because I might be biased at you as a batsman keeper when I first started, is that if a pure glove misses a chance, it hardly gets a mention. When a perceived batsman who keeps wicket misses a chance, it's a discussion.
Well, you know this because you were. I mean, you were under this heading when you first came into the side, weren't you?
Well, I was already in the side as a batsman.
Yes.
So Jack wasn't dropped because of his performances, it was almost other people's performances. So I became the all-rounder, and then my keeping improved. I didn't keep as a youngster. I probably kept more for England, or as many times for England as perhaps I did for Surrey. And I was learning to keep wicket while playing for England, which is far from ideal.
But you took the gloves in order to strengthen the batting.
Correct.
It gave one more, gave another place.
yes, because we didn't have much of a say in that time.
Well, we have. I think we had Caddick at 8, we had Mullally at 9, Tuffers at 10, and Giddings at 11 in a few games.
Yeah, well, yes.
We needed all the batters we could get.
So, I mean, it's a situation going to come. If Bassett goes on, I mean, I know we don't want to penetrate that Bassett.
If he keeps building catches, you'll make a change.
But supposing he doesn't, but then do we go back to Joss Butler, who comes up the same in any way, or do we actually just look around the country and say, now, who is the best wicketkeeper?
Call me biased, Ben Folks at Surrey, who joined us from Essex 2 years ago. He will be the best wicketkeeper in England, and he's also a batsman who can bat the top 6. So I would be very surprised in 12 months' time if Ben Folks is not banging on the door, subject to how Bairstow is progressing as a wicketkeeper. Folks is going to be that good. Yeah, he's a proper batsman. I know he's a proper, he's a genuine batsman and a genuine keeper. He left Essex because of James Foster, because wasn't going to get a game there. He wants to keep wicket. He's our first team regular wicket keeper, and already in probably the 12-14 games he's kept for us, he has shown that he is going to be very special.
Well, all I can say is that we're doing all right for batsmen with wickets.
I mean, it could get to a point. If you're talking about Joss, you're talking about Bairstow, you're talking about
for wicket keepers.
But you could do. The three of them are all good enough to bat in the top 7.
Yeah.
Or if you throw in Moeen Ali as an all-rounder spinner in the top 8. It doesn't mean just because you keep wicket and bat, you can't just play as a batter.
It has to be also Keith Brown.
Yes,
Turned himself into a very fine wicket keeper for wicket clubs, and he said the toughest thing for him was actually them being taken seriously as a wicket keeper.
Correct. It's losing that tag of batsmen who can keep wicket.
Yeah.
As against, I'm a wicket keeper, by the way, I can also bat very well too.
Yes.
And you have to earn that right. And Bairstow, unfortunately we're discussing him now for our squad now, he is earning it, but he hasn't 100% yet earned the full I am a test wicket keeper. But I see enough progress. Next winter is going to be key. Bangladesh in India, where we're going to see a lot of spin bowling. And that is where you're going to get a lot of chances. And for the seam bowlers, you don't get that many chances, do you? Caught behind it's against the spinners, a catch, stumping or whatever.
So Stuart, does there then come a time when perhaps, I mean we're just talking in the future or what have you, that you almost go, Bairstow, forget the keepers?
Yes, that's
You only do if he's not progressing.
Yeah.
You know, so he can bat in the top 5, but he wants to keep wicket, which first of all is the right thing. If he was a reluctant wicket keeper, then I'll be saying, no, just stick to your
But
wicket.
he's after it.
He wants to keep, because first of all, it gives you 2 strings to the bow. It's a valued position, but he enjoys it. If it was a chore, then that's a different conversation altogether. He's gone on record saying, I want to be England's wicket keeper as well as a top 6 batter, top 7 batter.
So if he keeps dropping them, okay, does he get dropped as the wicket keeper but retained as the batter?
Yes.
And just
After
feel,
Joe Root, things best form.
whether he's keeping them.
So come the winter, they will be selectors you'd have thought.
Confusing that.
No, but you end up, I mean, sorry, we play 5 keepers. We play 5 keepers. But 5 people kept in first class or list out, and it was 1 keeper. But it just happens that they're good batters too. And you can learn Sangakkara. World-class batsman, but a 5 wicket keeper turns things to a 5 wicket keeper. Then, towards the end of his career, gave the gloves away just to concentrate on his batting.
interestingly, Admiral has just had and Thompson attempt with the figures. In the last 7 test matches, so we'll be going back to the start of the series in South Africa. Bairstow has taken 38 catches and 1 stumping, and he's missed in this time 9 catches and 2 stumpings. So he's taken 39 out of 50, which is 78%.
So it's just below. It's below world class in Alan Knott's terms.
No, yeah.
I would also say, and I can't picture all these, and I'm not going to question Andrew in any shape or form when it comes to stats.
You on David?
No, I won't.
Of course, Stewie, come on.
No, I won't, because despite him wearing a Kent hat once when he was supporting Surrey.
Have a stats off. Stats off.
No, he's won. I'd just like to know how many are, as I call them, legitimate chances, or as I was talking earlier about full length dive on, can't go any further, and it just clicks.
But that just proves a point about the stats there. It's 78%, and with room to improvement. To improve, and that's where.
So he's not a 50-50 kid.
No, because then you start.
If you're 50-50, it's like the slip fit, 50-50 Jeffrey Boyd used to call Graham Thorpe 50-50 at slip, which was harsh. But at 78, he has the ability to get to 85, and he get to 90 with hard work.
It's going to be interesting to see these sort of figures in a year's time.
Well, especially after India.
But I would like to, and I'm not doubting Andy, but I'll keep saying, but what is a chance and what is just its clipped a finger, or it's a real thick edge that he did actually quite well to get to, but couldn't go any further. So that's the only
thing. Can you Andrew, have stats for goobers and sort of like half shots? Real dolly.
So I am protecting the wicket keeper, and so I'm very happy to be accused of that. But I try and look at it from a simplistic, sensible view.
Andrew, now.
Well, I mean, that is the big issue of fielding statistics. There aren't really fielding metrics in cricket yet. And one of the issues, if you are going to have fielding metrics, is to be able to give some kind of category as to whether it's an easy chance, a difficult chance, or
so yesterday, was it was it Joe Root? Who was it who died full length?
Yeah, Joe Root did.
So is that a chance?
I mean, well, exactly, that is the issue.
So that's what I'm saying.
Well, that's a 10 out of 10 difficult. 7.
Yeah.
I'm giving that. I'm giving
No,
that.
but do you see what I
10 out
mean?
of 10.
Technically, the ball has hit his fingers.
Yeah.
Is he
Yeah.